Welcome, everyone. Today, I'd like to go back to discussing again the words of Rambam Maimonides, where he lists the 13 principles of faith, the 12th being the coming of faith and the coming of Mashiach. And I want to focus on a different part of the word that we discussed last week, but allow me to again to repeat his words so we can get to that point. So Yemais Hayesod Hashnei Masar, the 12th principle, Yemais HaMashiach, phase of Mashiach. V'hu lahamin ula ames, to believe and to confirm. Sheyavai, he will come. Lo yachshav sheyis acher, person shouldn't think he will be late. Imismameach hakeloi, if he delays, wait for him. And don't, as the Rambam says, don't try predicting any times when he's going to come. Let's skip a few words. V'sheyamin, a person has to believe, Shi Eloi, that it will be to him, to Mashiach, Yisrain Umayla v'kaved. He will have a level of excellence and greatness and honor, Al kol hamalach mishoyim ha'olam, over all kings that ever were. K'vima shenibu alav, al kol ha'neviim, Moshe Rabbeinu l'bashalom, ad Malachi l'bashalom. As the prophets from Moshe until the final prophet Malachi prophesied about Mashiach. Now, so the Rambam says we have to believe that he will be greater than any other king ever. Umishistapik boy, one who doubts him, meaning in the whole idea of Mashiach, or his greatness is diminished by him. He will not. A person who doesn't believe in this unbelievable greatness of Mashiach, that person has now denied in what the Torah tells us about Mashiach. So as we were mentioning, the Rambam, we went through the Rambam in his Kodi al Chazaka, of where he shows in the words of the Torah about Mashiach. And what I want to focus on is the part where the Rambam talks about the greatness of Mashiach. And if a person does not believe in his greatness, somehow or another, his greatness is diminished by every person, in a person's mind, like he says, Misha Stapik by anybody who doubts him, or his greatness is diminished by him, doesn't believe or doubts this greatness that we attribute to Mashiach. The Rambam says, you are denying what the Torah says. The Torah talks about him and about his greatness, as the prophets do, and therefore you are a denier of the Torah in the words of the prophets if you don't believe in his greatness. What is so important about Mashiach's greatness that we say that if you don't believe in it in its fullest sense, you're not a believer? What is so important about believing in his greatness? That the prophets talked about it and that the Rambam says we're obligated to believe it. So I believe the explanation to this lies in the words of the Rambam that we brought down last week in his Hilchos Teshuvah's Laws of Teshuvah, Perek Tes, chapter 9, Halacha Beis, paragraph 2. So again, allow me to repeat this. Because of the following, Israel, its prophets, its wise men yearn for the days of Mashiach, because then they'll be able to have rest from the governments, from the controlling powers that do not allow them to study Torah and perform mitzvahs properly. They'll find tranquility, and they'll be able to increase their knowledge of Torah, so that they can be able to merit the life of the world to come in its fullest. Because in those days, here's what we have to start focusing on. Knowledge, wisdom, truth will increase. For the land has been filled with knowledge of God. Then he brings a few more verses to bring out this point about how the world will be filled with so much knowledge of God. And then he writes, because that king that will rise from the family of King David, Bal Chachma yeh yoser mishloimai. He will be wiser than King Solomon. V'navi gadolhu. He will be a great prophet. Karav l'Moshe Rabbeinu, close to the level of Moshe, close to the level of the greatest prophet of the Jewish people, the greatest prophet of all times. Ulafikach, and therefore, Yelamed Kala'am, he will teach the entire nation, the Yoira Isam Derech Hashem, and show them the way of God. V'yavayu Kol HaGoyim L'Shaimai, and all nations will come to hear him. Shenemar, as it states, V'yava'achris Hayamim, it shall be at the end of days, Nochniya Har Beis Hashem Rashi Harem, well established will be the mountain of the house of God at the top of the mountains. So here the Rambam is telling us is that when the prophets talk about that the world will be filled with the knowledge of God, how is that going to come about? It's going to come about because of Mashiach. He will be the wisest of all men ever. He'll be a great prophet. And with those powers, he'll be able to bring back everyone. He'll bring back the Jewish people. As the Rambam says, everybody's going to come listen to him. Everybody's going to be influenced by him. This is the means. Hashem will send this great person who will be who God's presence will rest upon him in such a way that he will bring everybody back to belief in Hashem. He will be that means. And therefore, now we understand very clearly why you have to believe in his greatness. Believing in his greatness, that's the means by which the knowledge of God will be felt in the world. And if you doubt his greatness, then you're not acknowledging what the goal of the days of Mashiach is, which is to give us in the world the greatest connection to Hashem. And therefore, the Rambam says, you've got to believe in that. You've got to believe not only in that he's going to come, you have to believe in his greatness. Now, once we're touching on this subject that the Rambam says, and all nations will come listen to him, will come to hear him, I want to just share a thought on something that we say every day in the prayer of Aleinu. The second paragraph of Aleinu, Alkein Kabalacha, I'll read to you from the English translation. Therefore, we put our hope in you, Hashem our God, that we may soon see your mighty splendor, to remove detestable idolatry from the earth, and false gods will be utterly cut off, to perfect the universe through the almighty sovereignty. Then all humanity will call upon your name, to turn all the earth's wicked toward you. All the world's inhabitants will recognize and know that to you every knee should bend, every tongue should swear. Before you, Hashem our God, they will bend every knee and cast themselves down. And to the glory of your name, they will render homage, and they will all accept upon themselves the yoke of your kingship, that you may reign over them soon and eternally. So every day when we ask in this prayer for Hashem, for Mashiach to come, we're talking about how everyone in the world will now become subservient to Hashem. Think about that. Everyone, as it says, all the world's inhabitants will recognize. From every simple John and Jay Doe to the most conceited athlete, entertainment star, politician, you name it, anybody that you can think of that you think is the furthest away from God, that person, when Mashiach comes, is going to recognize God. From people who have a simple understanding of God to the people who consider it a crime to mention God's name in public, everyone will come to recognize Hashem. And the Rambam writes the means for that will be, the medium for that will be Mashiach. And therefore, we have to believe in his greatness, because his greatness is going to bring us to that time that we yearn for, that time of closest to Hashem, that will be that greatest ability to connect to Hashem that the world has ever had. This has been a little bit of light. Have a wonderful Shabbos.